according to Andrew Tate, marriage is suicide today for men. There was a fiery exchange between Andrew Tate saying how men should just have babies and children with as many women as possible, and Matt Walsh, the conservative commentator, talking about the importance of a family and the values of a family. And I had some thoughts that I think you will find valuable as well on this issue, because I think both of them have some interesting points that I just wanted to flesh out now. They come from two different worldviews, and that's the most important thing. It's like you seeing the world through a different lens creates your world image. So it's not that one's bad or one's right and wrong, although I do have an opinion, which I'm going to share with you, on which I think is a better journey for men to go on. But let's break this down. Let's break down this conversation and see what they had to say. Okay, so this all kicked off with the now infamous scene of the CEO getting caught cheating on his wife at the Coldplay concert. I believe the woman was also married too, so they were both caught cheating, and Matt Walsh had a post about it. But then Andrew Tate commented on the post. He had something to add to it. He said, "Great way to put the nail in marriage's coffin. Nobody gets married anymore because of women like her. Men are always men, always have been and will be. He's allowed, she isn't. Telling men if they touch another girl at any point in their lives equals financial decimation is why no one's getting married anymore." So some people could say this is a double standard, like he's allowed to, but she isn't allowed to. And I think there are double standards. I don't think it's like, oh, because women can do this, men can do this, or because men can do this, women can do this. I think we are different, and there are different standards being applied to people. But I don't really agree with what Andrew Tate's saying here. It's like he's a married man, she's a married woman. Well, he is allowed to, she isn't. Why? Because men are men and women aren't. They're going to make the case for, or we're going to talk about the case for monogamy in a second. Like, are humans supposed to be monogamous? But if it goes for men, like men aren't supposed to be monogamous, well, definitely human females aren't meant to be monogamous either. So it's either a case for both of them or none of them in this situation. But then we have old Matt Walsh firing back, where he talks about something else. He talks about, "I disagree. Loyalty and integrity are essential virtues for a man. If you make a vow before God, you keep it. Sneaking around with other women while your wife is at home with your children is a violation of the promise you made to her and to God, and therefore unmanly and weak." So he's calling what Andrew Tate was saying unmanly and weak, going around behind your wife's back, cheating on her. To me, the big thing here is being dishonest. You know, if you tell your wife, "I'm only going to be with you and there's going to be no one else," and you lie to her and do that, that is a man's word. You know, you are your integrity. Now, I know a lot of people today, it's not so conventional as it used to be. Like, people have more like open dynamics and they have other things going on. So yeah, I think it's sad where people have to lie and cheat. I've done that before in past relationships, and you never like feel good. You know, you're not like, yeah, like you do feel bad inside. And not because you're monogamous, it's because you're presenting yourself as one thing to a person, like, "I'm loyal to you, I care about you," but then like you're living like this double life. This is what we call a shadow. It's like you maybe have this desire for more than one woman, but instead of being honest about it and owning it and maybe looking for a girl that you can come into agreement with that with, it's like you pretend that you don't want that, and then you secretly live out the life behind your woman's back, which is full of lies, and that will hurt your soul, you know. Now, I think with Andrew Tate, like, he doesn't lie about it. He's not trying to pretend to one girl that he only married her and loved her, and he's sneaking around these girls' back. So I actually think in their own way, what they're both doing, it both has a place. And I want to break it down more in a second. Let's just get to the end of this little exchange between them. So this is where Andrew Tate says, "Agreed on this point, which is why any man with a brain doesn't hand over the keys to his castle to a misandric legal system and over-emotional, unchecked females. The world's changed, Matt. Women are a fraction of what they were. Telling men to just get married and just be loyal gets men wrecked. The only way they hold the relationship together is to give up any ounce of masculinity, living hell. The smartest move on the chessboard for a man is now to get rich and have as many children as he wants with as many women as he wants and take care of all of them. Second world, avoid first world courts, own your empire and women will respect you in return for provision. So just a quick comment on that, but the post carries on. It's almost, I agree with a lot of these points where the legal system does seem really stacked against men. Women can change their mind at any second, and it puts the man in a very compromising position, a very dangerous position. And he said, women are a fraction of what they were. So in general, we could probably agree that where femininity has gone over the last 20, 30, 50 years is not in a healthy way overall. But you could argue the same for masculinity. Like the world has changed. Women are a fraction of what they were. Well, most men today are a fraction of what they were. I don't know if you've looked at men in general today. They're not exactly knights in shining armor. A lot of them are afraid, they're petrified, they have no social skills, they haven't built anything in their life. So it's definitely not like one or the other. So also what he says here, the only way to hold a relationship together is to give up any ounce of masculinity. So he's basically implying, and I don't know if he's being like hyperbolic here, but any guy who's married has no ounce of masculinity. And I have a few mentors that I learned from. A lot of them are married, and these are some of like the most respectable, strong men that I've ever met, you know, even if they were more like public figures. I'm just trying to think of the names off the top of my head. Well, I think Matt Walsh is pretty masculine. He's got a wife, a bunch of kids. I don't know, someone like Joe Rogan. I'm just thinking of the top of my head. Did you look at Joe Rogan and be like, that guy's given up every ounce of his masculinity? There's probably so many more other examples as well. So the smartest move is just get rich and have as kids with as many women as you want. So these are different types of mating strategies. Okay, you can have more of the pray and spray strategy, just try and impregnate as many women as possible, and that's a biological option. Many men have applied that strategy and it's worked for them in terms of overcarrying their offspring. But it's also like, okay, I'm going to try have 10 different kids with 10 different women. And from a biological perspective, well, I'm not going to be there to help raise all of them. So if 8 of them die and 2 of them live, well, maybe that was a good strategy. Or I could have 3 kids with 1 woman and stay there and help raise the kids to some extent, and maybe 1 of them dies. So in that case, still 2 survive. So they're both effective mating strategies from a biological level. There's no argument with that. But to me, the argument also becomes limited, which what we're about to touch on. So he goes on to say, own your empire and women will respect you in return for provision. 4 sons isn't bad. I have more and always will. And no woman can steal my hundreds of millions. Marriage is suicide. Feminists built a world where females have no duty as wives and every possibility to destroy you. If you can't change the game, win the game. So is he wrong about the game being played here? Has feminism moved the world and moved human relating in a very dangerous direction? I 100% agree with that. You know, I think it's been the worst time in human history when it comes to man-woman relationships. But to say that no females have no duty as wives, again, it's just not true. Like, I'm part of these masterminds, I'm part of these communities where, like I say, there's like a renaissance where there are a lot of women who are moving back into femininity, into service, into duty, into submission, and they're looking for men who want to hold that dynamic. Now, does that mean the average woman you just meet on the street, especially in the West, is going to hold those values? Probably not. So let's not delude ourselves and just say, yep, this is the norm. But to say that it's like not possible and no one's doing it, to me, it's just like an over exaggeration. It's like if someone uses the term like always or never, that's not really true because there's always nuances. It's not always also always women are going to screw you over if you get married to them. But the other case is also true. It's like, well, if you get married, you're never going to have to deal with heartbreak or women screwing you over. Well, that's not true either. both can be true. You also see, I don't know if it's like a character he plays on social media, but it's also like very egoic, which we're going to touch on in a second. It's like 4 sons isn't bad. I have more, and no woman can steal my hundreds of millions. It's like always with the cars, always with the Bugattis, like trying to really promote the lifestyle. And maybe it's just a branding, marketing thing, but to me, it also points to something deeper. So Matt has one more fire back here, and then I want to kind of break this down and share what I think on this topic. So what does Matt say? The setup you describe where men have children by lots of different women has already been tried. We've seen it in primitive cultures, and we see it today in the most dysfunctional, filthy, and crime-ridden communities in America. This kind of setup is natural in the sense that it appeals to our most base and uncivilized impulsive. It's primitive and animalistic, which is why it's so commonly found in the animal kingdom. Reptiles and monkeys behave this way, but we are human beings. So I think he touches on something here. It's like, are we part animals? Absolutely. Should we be aware of that animal nature? Absolutely. But if we're only animals, then yeah, just go around, fuck anything you want to fuck, just do whatever you want to do, because none of it matters. But I think part of humans, we have something spiritual, we have something divine in us, we have something above our animal nature. And it doesn't mean the animal nature is bad or wrong, but it's often a battle, you know? Maybe humans can do something like fasting. That goes against every biological instinct you have. Like your biology is like seafood, eat it. But with humans, we can start, hey, I want to fast. I want to give my body a rest. And I'm going to, on purpose, go 7 days without eating. Now, there's nothing natural about that process, yet we can do it because we have higher impulses that go beyond our animalistic nature. Not even talking about like super spiritual things at this point, but that's one way of thinking about it. Monogamy and the nuclear family call us to something higher. It's not natural, but supernatural. Man and wife become one at the altar in a mystical way, though it's still very real. This is perhaps a riskier and more difficult path, but a man should not shy away from the riskier and more difficult path. The greatest happiness and most meaningful successes in life are found down this path. So let's touch on this for a second. Again, I think this is a really good point. I'm not saying marriage is supernatural, but on one level, I do believe monogamy is like unnatural, you know? But so is a lot of things that make human beings human beings. It's something harder to go against those impulses. On some way, Andrew Tate also describes this. He's very like disciplined, and he's like made a lot of money, and he has a lot of these businesses. So in many ways, he fights his animalistic nature. But in this regard, it's like, oh, well, whatever. We just got to go with the animalistic nature. Just on the point where it's the riskier and more difficult path, 100% it is. But again, when has it been against masculinity to avoid risk or difficulty? That's what we see in men today. Men who have avoided risk or difficulty. Guys who are staying at home, playing video games, watching pornography. Guys who've never approached girls before. Men who are terrified of women. That's what happens when we take the least risky path. So who says that's always the best thing? And I can almost speak from this. I've never reached Andrew Tate level of success, or neither Matt Welch, but it's like I was kind of on that part, like pickup artists, just hooking up with girls after girls. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about women. I'm not naive about any of these things. And yet at the same time, ultimately it was like, is there something more than this? Is there something higher than this? Personally, for me, I wanted to be a dad. And okay, am I going to take the Andrew Tate approach? Like, okay, just have kids with many different women, or just like have this woman and be running around doing other things. And I was like, no, I actually want to be there to help raise my sons, you know, which is kind of this next point. Let's touch on that. On another point, if you want boys to become men, you cannot leave them to be raised almost entirely by women. Boys need the daily guidance and example that can be provided only by a man who lives in the home and has committed himself to the family and that family alone. You are the captain of the ship. You need to be on the ship. You need to eat and sleep there and walk the deck with your crew. You need to be there when the storms come. So I don't know what's happening to Andrew Tate's woman where, I don't know, I mean, he's got 6, 7, 8, maybe it's 2 or 3, but again, women need containment from men. This is not even about the kids, but it's like women need like a man who can like ground them because they're a lot more emotional. They can get a lot more chaotic. So if you've got like 5 different wives, and they're all living in different places, and you're just maybe spending a little bit of time with each of them, or you're just providing for them financially, well, these women can still be emotionally not grounded and not have the man in the house. And that's also going to apply to the kids. That's going to affect the kids. That's going to rub off on the kids, you know? So maybe this is just personal for me, but my dad wasn't really around that much when I was growing up. So for me, it's a value where it's like, no, I want to be involved in my kids' lives. Does that mean I'm going to like not work and just like sit at home and be there for every second of my kids? No, I can provide them for them in other ways. I'm not going to be a stay-at-home dad type of situation. But at the same time, I'm leaning more in towards this camp. I am in this camp. I'm getting married in a couple months. I want to have kids. I want to have a family. So I can see where both of them are coming from. And this comes to kind of the final part of this little workshop, this little series, this little talk, is you need to view the world and attraction. It's multi-system. So if you look through the chakra system, which I learned through like Umrapani and Laurie Handlers, they've talked about this the last time, like viewing relationships through the chakra system, man, woman relating through it. You don't have to believe in chakras or spiritual or anything. Just use it as a framework. So at the bottom, we have the base chakra, which is like survival. Now pretend you only lived at the base chakra. Everything is 0 and 1. Everything's either trying to kill you or it's trying to help you. You're trying to procreate or you're trying to get killed. You're trying to eat or you're trying to defecate. It's all like 0s and 1s. And this is very savage. You know, if you look at like the animal kingdom, it's very first chakra. Like things are just eating other things. Things are just destroying other things. And of course we have that in our nature. But again, is that the highest form of human nature? Is that what we want to be describing? Like, oh, there's a guy. I like his motorbike. Cool. Why don't I just shoot him, take his motorbike? Well, from a survival perspective, I've just won. You know, I've just earned a motorbike. I've just earned resources by doing what? Using power. It's like if you think of like the first chakra, it's very like mafia style. It's like, what do? They rule by like power and influence. Is it effective? Yes, it's effective. But is that the highest form of human beings that we want to try emulate? Probably not. But fear works, okay? Intimidation works, and it's very Andrew Tate type of thing. I think men actually need to get better at these things. Like men need to learn. Again, I'm not the biggest killer in the world, but just being able to have hard conversations, set boundaries. Like most guys can't even do that. When it comes to confrontation and conflict, I'm not talking about beating people up, although that probably plays a part in it as well. Number 2 is we have sex. Okay. So there's 2 ways you can view sex. One is like through procreation. I just want to have a baby and carry on. Awesome. There's actually 3 ways. The second way is it's more egoic. You know, it's like, why are you having sex? It's because, yeah, I'm getting, some kind of validation and satisfaction from that, which is why I would say most people have sex these days, men and women. Okay, that's what the dating apps are for. They're not about intimacy for 90% of people. It's a validation factory. Girls will go on there when the guy they liked just dumped them and their validation is through the floor, and then they want to go get some more. Or sex can be about touching pleasure, touching erotic. This is like tantra and all those types of things where it's like there's depth to sex. I saw once Andrew Tate talking in a video about he actually doesn't really like sex. He thinks it's like a bit of a waste of time. He can't kind of wait for sex to be over so he can go back to doing other things, which again, nothing wrong with that. But that just shows to me it's like he hasn't gone on that journey of depth. He hasn't gone on that journey of pleasure when it comes to his sexual journey. Maybe he doesn't want to. That's fine as well. But sex is either shallow, like egoic, like, oh yeah, or there's a huge depth and so much pleasure that goes on it. but that can only be created in certain situations. It's not just like any egoic reason will help you get there. And number 3 is self-esteem. So our little human egos. Okay, this was the next thing up in the development. Probably caveman didn't have big egos, but today with all our mental disorders and anxieties and this and social this, what is that? It's self-esteem issues. People's self-esteem, depression, all of this stuff. It's through the gutter. It's worse than it's ever been. So these are the 3 base chakras. And if we look at these only, Andrew Tate's probably a great example of all 3 of these. You know, he can fight. He was like a kickboxing champion. He's like a big, intimidating guy. His self-esteem in terms of his ego is through the roof. Lots of people look up to him. He's respected in a lot of ways. He has great stature in the world. So from this perspective, he actually ticks a lot of these boxes. You know, if you want this to be your worldview, go emulate Tate. You know, he's got a lot of these base level things going on. Now, it's not that the base level are good and the top are the base level are bad and the top are good. You need all of them. Most men today are flailing, not because they're not meditating enough, not because they're not spiritual enough, but it's because they're lacking these things. Okay, they don't make a woman feel safe. With your little man bun and your meditation, like that's not getting safety. Like you need to have access to your savagery, your animalistic side. That makes a woman feel safe. And a lot of spiritual guys, they don't have access to this. With sexuality, learn to upskill yourself when it comes to sex. Self-esteem, build yourself in the world. Cultivate genuine self-esteem. These are all good and great things. And I would say men are failing terribly at these things today. And that's part of the reason that women just don't find men attractive. It's like, they can't even have a hard conversation, can't say no to a woman, can't draw a boundary. Number 1, they avoid conflict. They suck at sex. All they've done is watch porn. No one's ever taught them anything. They have a totally warped view on sexuality. It's terrible. Number 3, their self-esteem's in the gutter. Their fear and anxieties totally overrun them. So again, from these 3 levels, it's like, go see how Andrew Tate operates and look how you can implement, build yourself in the world, build a business, make money, all these kind of things. But if this is the only area you operate in and there's nothing more, to me, it's not the highest game we can be playing as human beings. So what happens is after the base 3 levels, you kind of enter a new realm after that, because these 3 are very animalistic, very human, good, awesome, nothing wrong with these. But there are also higher things that you can touch, which I think what Matt Walsh is trying to hit on. It's like, are we just these animalistic creatures, or is there something more to us? And I think Matt Walsh is very religious. He's very Christian. And whether you look at it from a religious Christianity perspective or more of like a spiritual perspective, there are higher energies more than our animalistic self. I believe that, maybe you don't. But there's like a threshold that you cross when our things aren't always about you. Part of being in love, the 3rd center and the 4th center hate each other, because the 3rd center is like, do I look cool? Am I cool? Do I look cool? When you go on a heart journey, when your heart cracks open, you actively look like a fool. You're pretty much setting yourself up to be destroyed. You know, it's like you're running after the girl. You got the boombox playing in the garden. And yes, you probably will be humiliated. But there's something that's even a spiritual practice in that, like letting your heart open and overflow and burst in love, and letting it dissolve your ego a little bit, letting you not take your ego too seriously. So when we hit the 4th level, something else happens. And this is why I believe it was Osho who had this quote: the heart is the beginning of the path towards God. Unless one learns to understand the language of the heart, God remains a faraway dream. It is only through the heart that the divine is encountered. So it's like, only once you get over the egoic, purely sexual, purely survival instincts do we even start to encounter the divine or the divine energies. But if we just want to play those bottom 3 chakra games, awesome, play that game, get great at it. But your life will be limited to playing in those realms. Ultimately, you want to be great at everything. You know, you want to be developed in all of these areas. And it doesn't stop there. You know, this thing keeps going all the way up to awareness, joy, merging with the divine, becoming one in union, and all these other magical things. So does Andrew Tate have a point? I think he does. And for most men, he's like, don't get married. It's a trap. This is a disaster. You're getting screwed over. Like, just stop doing it. And there's no woman out there. Women aren't the same as they were. But to me, it's just about picking very wisely. And I'm taking this riskier path. I could be wrong. I'm going into this path knowing I can be humiliated, knowing that my girl could cheat on me, knowing that she could divorce me and just whatever happens after that. So I'm not naive. I'm not like some little blue pill guy being like, women are fantastic and this is just going to be amazing. It's like I've gone and flipping scoured the floors of nightclubs for years, seeing women in the most unlikable views that you've ever seen. But guess what? I've also got skeletons in my closet. I'm not Mr. Perfect sitting here saying, oh, well, I'm just this honorable, great person. I'm like, no, I got shadows too. You got skeletons. I got skeletons. Come, let's go on this journey together. And if it ends in a ball of flames, so be it. Maybe at that time I won't be saying it so blazedly. I'll be like crying in a ball and everyone could be like, I told you, you idiot. So be it. I'm going on this journey. Now, I will say this is also really important if you want to have kids. If you don't ever want to have kids, if you never want to be a father, well, be very careful about being married. You know, you can just have like a life partner or someone you with, and you can stay with it while it's good. And when it's not good, you can part ways. But if you're like, I actually want to build a family with this person, you're going to need a lot of that holding you two together. And I believe marriage is a good way to do that, a good commitment to make. So what are your guys' thoughts on the video? I know this is a very polarizing topic, especially in the red pill kind of sphere. Guys go absolutely nuts over this stuff. And I can see where they're coming from. I've been there myself. And yet I've also seen other things that are possible. And yeah, I don't want guys to get stuck in this. It's all screwed and we're all screwed. And guys just giving up being fathers, guys giving up being husbands because, oh, this girl's just going to take all your money and what's the point? No, you can set yourself up against those things as well. And yep, there is risk involved. There's always uncertainty. Welcome to life. Welcome to being a man. Don't avoid things just because there's a risk that something could go wrong. Be smart about it. Choose flippin' wisely. This doesn't mean just go marry the next girl you see that trots along. Be super flippin' skeptical almost. Be super like, is this the right woman? And make sure it is and do your best you can. But that doesn't mean this whole journey needs to be avoided entirely. So I've been going on for a while here. Hopefully I got you some different perspectives, get you thinking about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on should you get married, shouldn't you get married, the positives and negatives of it. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.